Mercedes-AMG Interview Lounge.
The other day, I was watching one of my favorite shows, CBS Sunday Morning. They did an interview with Mike Shinoda. And Mike, I got to say, thank you so much for coming in. That interview was fabulous. Do you think they did a great job with that?
I loved that. Yeah, and I loved the piece. I mean, it could have been great with or without me. They did an amazing piece about mental health and suicide awareness. Yeah, it was awesome.
It was great. And this album is fantastic. Of course, Post Traumatic came out the 15th, right? It just came out.
Just on Friday, yeah.
I paid actual retail on iTunes for it. I'm going for it. Because Mike, sometimes people say, we'll just send it to you. I'm like, no, I'll happily pay money for it. I want to be a part of the plan.
I feel bad. Like at this point, they give promo CDs to a lot of folks who are in music and radio and so on, and I got a box of CDs and I started handing them out to some friends, and I was like, we were all joking like, I don't even have a CD player.
Right, we say that all the time. We're like, what is this?
But it is, I have an art background, so the packaging is actually a thing for me. Like our Linkin Park fans know this. I always do, we take extra care in making a nice package. So they, when they get the CD, it's like usually flip it open and take a look at all the art.
Well, what about vinyl? Is it out on vinyl?
Not at this point, no, but I do plan to do vinyl.
And you know what I also like about holding the actual CD? The thank yous.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get that when you download something. I love to read the liner notes and the thing.
You know what we did? What I did on this one, which I've never done before, and so far it's been working out really great, is I did, because I really wanted to feature the art on the actual physical package of the CD, we did digital liner notes, and it's a whole micro website that expands, and you can see credits, you can see all the lyrics, and it's a lot. I mean, this album is 16 songs, and it's a lot of lyrics. So I really wanted people to have access to that, even if they didn't have the CD or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you released the EP. I mean, we got like 2 or 3 songs several months ago. Well, is that like in December? When was that? I don't know.
Yeah, it was January. Yeah.
But there is something so fantastic about holding it in your hand, and I'm talking about the CD, not your private parts. But also, but do you have a turntable? Do you actually listen to vinyl, Mike?
I do.
I love it.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think there's a Stevie Wonder album I have. It's like a whatever. I actually scratched it on purpose so I could hear the scratch.
Oh, that's funny.
Because
that's funny.
Anyway, no, it's kind of stupid. I don't know why I'm going to that.
No, that's a thing. It's a thing. I grew up like sampling vinyl and making like beats. Like I grew up rapping, so I made beats off of samples of vinyl. And the dirtier the records were, the better the samples sound. Like you hear that grittiness. And at one point, I literally poured baby powder on a record to see if it would make it sound dirtier. It didn't really work.
Oh,
well, no. If you listen to Post Traumatic, there's at least one song you hear a scratchy record in.
Yeah. Well, now what I do is I have like I've been collecting sounds and stuff on my on various samplers and laptop and whatever since I was like in high school. So I do have a lot of samples of what I just call noise. Like it's like sometimes there's just like a hum or like a crackle from a record, or it's just something you can kind of add to it that gives it like a texture. And you'll hear that on the record for sure.
So Mike Shinoda is here, by the way. It's been about a year since we lost Chester Bennington, and he took his life. And it was just several months after he was sitting in that same chair when he came in to see us. Yeah. And of course, I can't imagine what it's like to go through that. I mean, Linkin Park, just such an important part of our lives, but it was your life. A lot of it. And so many memories you have of being on the road with them and riding with them. And
I like how you said that, because that's true. Like in this process, like it's hard for anybody to lose a friend, or in this case, he felt more like a brother. Like it was like it's almost like losing a family member. I did, one of the first things that I had to like really look at was just looking at myself. I grew up, as I said before, playing music and also painting and stuff. And my entire, when people think of like, oh, who is Mike? Like they think of Linkin Park. And when they think of Linkin Park, they think of me, vice versa. So I in the early, like about a year ago, I was really struggling with the idea that this part of my identity was changed or broken or couldn't keep going. Like I didn't know what to think about that, because, in terms of the legacy of Linkin Park and my stuff, it's been part of my identity for so long. Right. So, I was scared to go in the studio. I was scared to do certain things that were related to the band. And I realized that if I kept like staying away from those things, like, so for example, staying away from playing guitar and piano, I didn't even want to play music at that time. And I realized the longer I waited, the more the anxiety built, and I needed to just get over it. So I went in the studio, a couple weeks later, and started just jamming, just doing stuff, just doing it to do it, not to write a song, not to make anything that I'd record, just to play.
But look what happened. It was the struggle of trying to figure out your identity. It turned into an album. The honesty is, and you can hear it. I hear it in some of the lyrics anyway. But I want you to hear something. When Chester was here, he talked about Linkin Park's longevity, which I think is so important to hear, because look, Linkin Park's going to be a part of our lives as well forever. Listen to what he had to say. This is really cool. Longevity comes from what, in your opinion? How come you guys are still around?
Well, I mean, it comes from loving what you do. And also, I think for us, the fact that we've always been so open to just kind of write whatever we feel inspired to write, and not really locking ourselves into a specific place in terms of genre or style. That's the thing that I think is the most exciting for us, and we've said it from the very beginning, but we really want to be a band that kind of melts the walls of genre and kind of becomes its own thing that can't really be explained. Maybe song by song, but in terms of the body of work, by redefining what a band can do or what a group of musicians or a single artist can do with their own style, as long as it comes from the pure place, and an honest place, you can write whatever you want.
Wow, just hearing his voice. We had such a great time with him that day, and I'm sure you look back at your moments with Chester. That there were the trying times, I'm sure, as every family has. But I smile when I hear his voice. So crazy.
Yeah, for me, it was I almost was enjoying. I was like, just I haven't heard that clip, and it was just hearing him is like, I didn't feel sad. Like I've been really. Hearing his voice on a song or that, or when I've done a couple performances now and played, for example, I played In the End, and I did it. I've been doing it just piano and vocal and letting the crowd sing all of Chester's parts.
Wow.
And it's really a beautiful moment. It's a wonderful, like the way they honor him is so special, because they, people are just like, they're crying, and it's the way that the music has touched a lot of the fans. There's nothing like it. Like, I don't even know if there's anything that I even have that kind of a connection with any of my favorite artists, which is weird. But
it's true. It's honesty, because Linkin Park, you guys, one of my favorite shows of all time. But the album after album is just amazing.
And when he was here, we felt like he made us feel like we were doing him a favor by interviewing him. Like, he was just he was such a humble person.
Yeah.
And and I feel like that's how the fans looked at him as well,
Yeah.
But Mike, so going through this struggle of trying to figure out who you are as an artist, what are you going to do? But there's also this: you're going from a group of people who make decisions together to doing your own thing. So you're doing shows, you make your own decisions, and I actually heard that you actually are so spontaneous. You could actually change a song on the fly now. You don't have to go through So what is that like for you now? Are you easily merging into that lane for yourself?
I don't know, easily. It's so for me, I knew that when I started making the songs and I decided when the songs kind of just like almost like wrote themselves. Like, I felt like what I needed to do was just try and capture the moments that were actually happening, because I knew that the whole experience I was having was really weird and unique and powerful and sad and beautiful and all this, it really just like intense emotions. And so, for example, one of the songs is called Over Again, and I wrote and recorded the first verse of it on the day that we did our Hollywood Bowl tribute show for Chester, which was like maybe the most important. It's probably one of the most important shows we've ever done. So I woke up feeling so conflicted and all these emotions, and then I also had all day to like all this time to kill, and I knew it was going to drive me crazy. So I sat down and I wrote and recorded that verse, and then the next day when the show was over, I had this like almost like letdown that it was over, and I decided to write and record the second verse. So capturing those moments as they were happening was a big part of this album, because I knew that it was a diary. I knew that at that point, before I even had I didn't even have half an album, but it was like a diary of what was going on. The other thing is that when you're going through something this powerful or traumatic or difficult, a lot of times we feel out of control. And that could be whether you lose someone, it could be a big breakup, it could be, a number of things. And and it's the out of control part that makes you so crazy or hurts so much. And so, knowing that the album was very personal, and knowing that I needed to be kind of with the driver's wheel in both hands, I decided to do it solo. I decided to do it by myself. And I knew that would enable me to make my own decisions, and I wouldn't have to kind of like ask anyone else or check in with anyone. And it would give me some feeling that I was at the wheel.
Good. Good for you. And you can hear it. By the way, Mike Shinoda is here. His first solo album, Post Traumatic. That's what we're talking about. And so performing on the stage, because you guys always had so much fun doing it. I know you were on with Fallon yesterday. Then you did a show at Gramercy last night.
Yeah.
I mean, are you at a point now where you feel like it's your show? You're in the center, even though you're surrounded by excellent artists that are backing you up. Do you feel like it's Mike Shinoda? It's you?
Yeah, I mean, I want to. I've only done before this album. I had done a handful of solo shows in between Linkin Park shows, and I was doing them because they're so challenging. Like, it's really a lot of pressure to be the only one on stage. If there's 6 guys on stage and somebody makes a mistake, like, chances are some of the crowd was looking at somebody else.
Yeah, and somebody else will,
and they didn't quite
cover
see.
for you.
Yeah, if I make a mistake, like in the back of my head, I was like, oh, that was a big, like I really screwed that up. but they were looking at Rob, they were looking at Chester, they were looking at Brett. Maybe I can get away with it. And no, I'm by myself. It's like, oh man, if I make the slightest mistake, they're going to see that. They are definitely not looking at someone else. And
by the way,
yeah.
No, go ahead.
Well, I just with these shows though, in addition to that, like that feeling, the fans know that like I'm not. I never got into this. I'm not so much of a like look at me kind of guy. Like I didn't get into this for that part of it. And other people get into music for different reasons. It's the money, the girls, and the fame or whatever. I was making music just to play for my friends and just to make it. Like that's how I've always operated. And that's not to say that I don't appreciate the other things. It's just that when I get on stage to do this stuff, it's really about just playing the stuff and the connection that I get from being there with the fans.
Wow. Well, I noticed you have a wedding ring on there, so you got the girl.
She's been with me. She's been riding out this whole thing since before we even got signed. So
right,
that's awesome.
So let me get a little personal. If it goes too personal, let me know. So okay. With everything you've been through, with Linkin Park, with Chester, with your struggle to find your identity and finding it, how important has she been as your partner? In the cockpit with you? I mean, can you talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
Your bond. And are there any songs on this album that are really about that?
Yeah, there is one song in particular. But let me back up real quick. Anna is, as a lot of the Linkin Park fans know, she's an author. She has a book called Learning Not to Drown, which is a young adult book, but it's great for adults as well, because it's a thoughtful and it's a smart book. It's about growing up with a brother in and out of prison and how that affects the family dynamic, and it's about this girl Claire and what she goes through. Anna, I say that only because Anna is she's a really thoughtful person. She's also has always had this focus on mental health, and has done talks, when she does interviews or talks to people, she often talks about mental health and the therapy that she went through. And so, to go through this whole thing, like, we were both just going through it together, but she's a great ally because she's so, she's has that experience, and has different, like, almost like techniques and ways of looking things that have helped me out. And vice versa, I think. I mean, we're just, is like with any good marriage, just like you're a good team. And, but I would say the song, getting back to the other part of what you asked, there's a song called World's on Fire on the record, and it's near the end of the album. Post Traumatic as an album, it's 16 songs. And the single that people are currently playing is Crossing a Line. That's in the middle of the album, because at the middle point in the album, it goes from kind of looking backwards at the dark stuff to like looking forwards and the hope and the other things that are out there for me or for somebody, for anybody. And at one point, I don't usually write these, like, I kind of find it, kind of cheesy to write like a song about like I love my family, even though I feel that way. And I found a way to say it in this song, World's on Fire, that just felt natural. And it was basically the world's on fire, but all I need is you.
Right.
And she was listening to it in the car with our kids. And they were trying to figure out, they're young, 7 and 9. They're trying to figure out like, what are each of the songs about? And they were like completely baffled by that song. It was so cute. Didn't know. What is that about? Like, is that about the fires in California? Right, all this stuff. And
yes.
Anna's like, no, it's a metaphor. It means something else. What do you think it means? And they figured it out. They said, is it about us?
Oh,
the
that's so cool.
Moment.
That's so cute.
Really
so even if you didn't sell one album, it's total satisfaction.
It was
from that
beautiful.
moment.
Just a beautiful moment.
So Mike Shinoda's solo album, it's released. It's out. It's called Post Traumatic, and it's so great to hear the background of the album. So when I listen to it again, it makes a little more sense. That's why I'm glad you spent time with us today.
Thank you.
So is there ever a chance for you and Linkin Park to get back together and do anything anytime in the future?
I mean, there's of course there's a chance. We're still we talk all the time, and we don't have plans at this moment. I mean,
right.
I think some of the guys are still kind of taking it easy, and I'd say everybody's doing well. Like the guys are doing well. Some of them are just not quite ready to be out there that way, and we have a lot of like important questions to answer before we figure that out. And when we answer some of those questions, we'll let everyone know.
Well, thanks for not bottling it all up and putting it on an album for us to experience. It's again, Post Traumatic, Mike Shinoda. I got to play Crossing a Line. I want to play something. And thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
And before you leave, take a picture with my big head. You'll see what we're talking about. it's kind of embarrassing, but it's kind of a thing. It's a thing. But Mike, it's such an honor to have you on, and may I personally say thank you for years and years of incredible music and art. And this new album, it really just makes all the sense in the world. And thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mike Shinoda, this is Crossing a Line. Thanks for coming in, Mike.